Dana, I just got a message from Wyatt Stevens that he can't find the meeting link.
Okay, I'll make sure he has it. And commissioners, you are live.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Brian Moffitt, and I would like to welcome everyone to the meeting of the Asheville Downtown Commission for December 10th, 2021. The Asheville Downtown Commission was created by the City Council for the sustainability and continued development of downtown, a vital urban center of Western North Carolina's economic, cultural, and visitor activity. The Downtown Commission provides City Council with recommendations on downtown policies and initiatives. In addition, downtown commissioners currently fill 4 out of 9 seats of the city's Design Review Committee, which reviews development projects within the Central Business District, the River Arts District, and hotel projects outside of those areas. The Downtown Commission also has the opportunity to provide input on projects outside of the scope of design review. All committee members and staff are participating virtually, and we appreciate everyone's patience as we continue to work through our committee meetings a bit differently. We are streaming live on our Virtual Engagement Hub, which is accessible through the Virtual Engagement Hub link on the front page of the city website and also linked on the committee page. We also have an option for the public to listen live by phone. And for anyone out there visiting with us today, welcome. At this time, I will go through and introduce all the committee members who are participating virtually. We've been doing this for a little while. Everyone knows to make sure to mute your microphone if you are not speaking. If you have a question and would like to speak, unmute your microphone. Please remember to mute your phone or device after you are done speaking. Committee members, as I call your name, please say a quick hello. Commissioner Dane Berger for his last meeting.
Hello.
Commissioner Franzi Charon for her last meeting.
Good morning.
Commissioner Andrew Fletcher, not his last meeting.
Good morning.
Good morning. Did I see Kimberly Hunter? No? Okay. Stephen Lee Johnson?
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm here. Robin Raines?
Good morning.
Hey. Guillo Rodriguez?
Good morning.
Oh, yeah, there you are. Megan Rogers?
Morning.
Ruth Summers, our vice chair. She's waving at us. You're muted, Ruth, but that's good. We see you. And Sage Turner, our city council representative.
Good morning, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you all for coming this morning. I will begin to work through our agenda items, and to help our audience follow along, I'm going to state each section of the agenda aloud, and we will do a vocal roll call for each vote. Commissioners, you know to raise your hand, and I will do my very best to make sure everyone gets heard. So at this time, we will do the approval of the draft action minutes from our November 12th, 2021 meeting. First of all, are there any revisions or additions to the draft action minutes? Wonderful. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
Motion to accept.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Stephen Lee Johnson, second by Megan Rogers. I'll go through the list. Dane?
Agree.
Franzi?
Yes. Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Stephen Lee made the motion, but you need to vote.
Aye.
I am aye. Robin?
Aye.
Guillo? He said aye and waved. Megan seconded, but you need to vote.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Ruth?
Aye.
Thank you. And Sage?
Aye.
Wonderful. The draft action minutes are approved. So our agenda this morning, I think we've got one small public comment related to our project review. I will talk about that when we go through the project review. I don't think we've got any other public comment. Is that correct? Not at this time.
We received public comment about one of the projects. That's right, which was shared. And then let me just see if anyone's live in the queue. Nope.
Okay.
No live public comments.
So we have project review, development impact discussion for two projects, one at 363 Hilliard and one at 123 Haywood Street. We're going to discuss recommendations for skills and attributes of new commissioners to try to make sure we are reviewing those correctly. We'll go through our updates and reports for design review, Asheville Downtown Association, and the downtown. And then we'll have an informal discussion and future agenda items from there. So with that, I think we will lead into the project review development impact discussion. And our first item of business is 363 Hilliard.
Good morning, commissioners. This project is, well, at least the project site's probably going to be a little bit familiar to some of you because, let me share my screen. Many of you were on the commission when we reviewed the Patton Place apartments that are located on the corner of Patton and Clingman Avenue. This is an assemblage of parcels to the south. You can see there's a little connection there that connects to the Patton Place apartments that are located here. And this proposal is being developed by the same development group, and so there is that connection. And is like Patton Place, it's a predominantly residential project. There is some commercial that I will point out here momentarily, but you can see that this project is split into two buildings. Building 1, which is the longer of the two buildings or the larger of the two buildings, located predominantly facing Clingman Avenue. And then you have the kind of the L of Building 1 and Building 2 facing Hilliard Avenue. Both Clingman Avenue and Hilliard Avenue are key pedestrian streets. There is also frontage on Pearl Street here, and this is not a key pedestrian street, obviously. So Building 1 is a 5-story mixed-use building with about 15,000 square feet of commercial at the ground level and 160 residential units. Building 2 is a 3-story all-residential building with 36 units. The project will also provide off-street parking. It's a combination of surface and structured parking tucked under Building 1 that you can kind of see through the footprint there. And the project went through TRC and informal design review. We've been able to review the project enough to know that it meets almost all of the design requirements of the UDO for a downtown project. The few or the couple instances where it doesn't, it's kind of to be understood given the nature or the context of the site. For instance, the 80% frontage on Hilliard. And just to kind of point out for you all, there is a large, if you look at the utility plan and the site plans, there is a large sewer and stormwater easement that kind of runs through this portion of the site where this little surface parking lot is. So they can't put a building across that. So that if you remove that linear frontage, it would probably meet the 80% frontage. And you can tell that it certainly does on the Clingman side. Let's see, I'm going to also point out a couple things related to the elevations, but the site also is a little bit unusual in that it provides a fair amount of surface parking. That's not so common in the downtown. The downtown design guidelines ask for parking lots to be screened with buildings and or landscaping. The applicant is proposing to screen at least this portion of the surface lot from Pearl Avenue with a 3-foot wall masonry, a 3-foot tall masonry wall with I think it's a brick veneer wall to kind of help shield that. We don't see any screening of a similar nature here on Hilliard, but again, we can't place a building there, but that could be one consideration as whether or not there's some additional screening needed. Let me move to the elevations. So you can see from this image, the top elevation is that sort of that bottom L on Hilliard. So this is the facade facing Hilliard. You can see that ground level commercial retail, that was that 15,000 square feet of commercial retail. That wraps the corner just slightly over here on the Clingman Avenue side. And then you can see how Clingman Avenue rises in elevation, and it goes from a 5-story building to a 4-story building as you get to the north end of Clingman Avenue. You can tell that the character of the building is predominantly residential. There are a few, the UDO requirement for percent fenestration at the ground level is 70%. That is not quite satisfied on either of the Hilliard or Clingman Avenue. Hilliard is a little confusing to me because the applicant indicates it's 56%. It certainly has a ground level commercial appearance with quite a bit of glazing. I almost wonder if that calculation is accurate, but I'll let the architect speak to that. And then the Clingman Avenue side, because it's predominantly residential, we typically find that there is less fenestration on those facades. And I think this commission has discussed this in the past, and there's been some discussion about whether or not when you have ground level residential, if we should change that fenestration requirement. So these are UDO exceptions that can be modified as this project moves through the conditional zoning process. This is a level 3 conditional zoning application, so it is a rezone from commercial or central business district to central business expansion district, which basically is still CBD and still has all the same CBD requirements. The one UDO standard that I don't think we've gotten all of the information that we need just yet is the screening of rooftop mechanical equipment. So I'm not going to say that it doesn't meet that requirement. I think we just perhaps don't have enough information, and maybe that's something the architect can speak to. As we scroll down, this is the side elevation for the Clingman Avenue building, the parking lot side of the Clingman Avenue, and you can see the garage entrance here. And then the Pearl Street, Hilliard Street building, this is the 3-story building on the corner of Pearl and Hilliard. So this is the Pearl Street side and then the Hilliard Avenue elevation. That also doesn't meet the percent fenestration openings of 50% when it's not on a key pedestrian street for the Pearl Street side, and then 70% on the Hilliard Street side. But again, this is a residential building. Materials is predominantly fiber cement siding and panels combined with a brick veneer. This is the proposed brick is a General Shale Dutch chocolate, so brown. There are some retaining walls also on the property. There's the screening wall for the Pearl Street side against the parking lot, and then there's a small retaining wall here. Well, maybe not so small, but I don't think it's too tall in height, but it's got some length to it here on the corner of, or not the corner of the property, the northwest corner, but facing Hilliard. And I believe this is also supposed to be, or is planned to be clad in a brick veneer. The applicant has provided some nice renderings that kind of give you a good character view of the project from the corner. So this is the Hilliard Street side and then the Clingman Avenue Street side. And you can see the detailing for the balconies and some of the change in materials kind of in the different building modules. And then scrolling down, this is a view of that 3-story building looking west on Hilliard. So you see that this is the portion of the building 1 that's got the commercial, the ground level commercial on it. And then up this way, excuse me, can't see my cursor, up this way would be Pearl Street. Just this project, as I mentioned, went to technical review. It's also been before the design review committee for informal review. The main comments that came out of that informal discussion, there was a general comment about door swings. That's something that comes up in a lot of our downtown projects just to try to make sure we avoid conflicts and other issues with accessibility. Materials, I think, were a little bit of a concern, especially the amount of fiber cement. siding and panels that were used. It just has something of a more kind of suburban residential look to it. And I think there was some request to maybe consider other options. The length of the Clingman Avenue facade, let me go back to the elevations. The downtown design guidelines speak to kind of breaking up long facades with a change in materials and some articulation, and to kind of establish a rhythm, which this project does definitely break it up, and it has a rhythm to it, but it's almost too rhythmic and kind of creates sort of a long kind of facade that the rhythm almost accentuates the length of the facade. And so there was a recommendation that the applicant look at ways of kind of breaking that up. And they did do a little bit, I think, of articulation and some changes on the end here, and I believe with this module here. I think it's questionable whether or not that succeeds in making the building kind of read like more than one building. To staff anyway, it still continues to read as a single building. And then the last comment had to do with the residential building and whether or not this Hilliard Avenue facade, if the intent was to kind of have it resemble like a row house, that the fiber cement siding was, probably not the most appropriate material, that it should be perhaps the brick veneer on this building in order to kind of have it read like a row house. And I think those were all of the comments from design review. Sasha was there. I don't know, Sasha, if there's anything you want to add to the discussion.
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
Okay. So that's my summary, and be happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead, Sage.
Shannon, do you remember when the previous project came and we reviewed it? Sorry, I'm hoarse. It was when it was, I can't remember the group, but it was a different group. And we had an issue with the Clingman side, the speed limit and street trees. And we were trying to do like cascading vines and stuff. I had a meeting with this development team about this review and design and stuff. And I wondered where that landed with them. And the conversation we had with the previous design set was, DOT doesn't allow a street tree or an impediment within 10 feet of a street that is 35 miles an hour or higher. So there had been talk about possibly reducing the speed limit. Do you have any?
A little bit. So that came up in technical review. We know that when a downtown project is on a NCDOT controlled road, that there is that concern about the location of the street trees. So we asked for some verification that the DOT was okay with the placement of the trees in their current location as shown on this plan. I received information this morning that the DOT is asking that they relocate those trees from the edge of pavement to inside. And I was a little unclear if it's just to move them to the back of the sidewalk or if it was actually a plan to maybe move them into these planting areas. But that's something that we're waiting for more specificity on.
That's just Clingman, not Hilliard. Is that correct?
I believe, yeah, I'm pretty sure I have to go back and check the email, but I think they were just speaking to Clingman.
Is there any interest in reducing the speed limit?
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't know. We should check on the speed limit. I thought most of the CBD was 20 miles an hour, so we can check on that. You're muted though, Seja.
I just remember from the previous project, it's 35.
I'm also not clear based on the email. It said that the DOT requested that it move. I don't know if that's a requirement that they move or if it's just their preference that they move. So I was going to try to find out more too.
Ruth, go ahead. You're muted.
I know that we want to activate the lower levels of buildings, but I'm just wondering if we should look at long-term the issue of vacant real estate in the central business district and parts of downtown. I mean, there is so much available office space right now that's for lease. And I'm just wondering if putting 15,000 square feet of retail is the best usage. I'm wondering if we should look at another use. I know it means changing some of the ordinances, but I think long term, we're going to continue to see people working remotely. And I think I would hate for us to end up with a lot of street level empty space in our wonderful city. So it's a question I think we need to look at and address sometime.
Thank you, Stephen Lee.
Thank you. Ruth, that point that you bring up, as most of us all know, including you, I'm sure, given what you do, every thriving city in the United States is dealing with this challenge in their ordinances. And even in thriving intersections, a lot of these lower level retail spaces are either empty or the businesses are really struggling. So I think that's a very important discussion for us to have. The speed limit there is indeed posted with a sign there in front of this site as 35 miles an hour. So I would like to recommend that, as a matter of just public safety and not really this project, that the city consider requesting that Clingman Avenue be reduced to 25 miles an hour. In addition to that, where this project is indicating a new sidewalk along Clingman, they are having to contend with a major power line array that's going down through that. So there's a lot of challenges with street trees on that. I was on the downtown commission with the last building. The first building came through for this, so there was a lot of discussion about that project, and I think in a lot of ways it was a really good project. I just wanted to mention that I'm really excited to see a building of this scale going here, first of all, and especially on this lot that's been vacant for so long. However, my personal opinion is that the building, the streetscape, is lacking any sense of place whatsoever. So this whole building and streetscape routine could be the same thing that you would see designed in St. Louis, Missouri, or Mobile, Alabama. And I know that we're looking at a TRC set, a compliance set. But if we don't say anything at this point, this is what's going to get built and installed, folks. And I'm going to specifically speak about the streetscape and just what can make this place special. I know that the civil engineers are meeting the minimum requirements for stormwater. I'd like to ask that the team consider going beyond those requirements. It is a storm tech system that's being suggested, which is, it's great that it's, handling the required detention, it's improving water quality, but there's a lot of space on this site to do some additional elements. And again, I look at the plan and it looks like almost it's a compliance plan. It's meeting the exact minimum standard with basically no creativity laid out in how the hardscape functions. And it just creates no sense of place. These are key pedestrian streets. And so, yes, we have 10-foot sidewalks. Yes, we have street trees in tree grades, but we're missing out on great opportunities along Hilliard Avenue, where there's no parallel parking along that curb. Why aren't we seeing BMPs along that curb for stormwater? The stormwater is flowing towards the curb. It's a perfect scenario. They can still meet their requirements. I think that we really need to be able to see what the final streetscape plan is here. Looking at the elevation at Hilliard, there's a 21-foot wide slab of concrete right there. There's no definition, and the rendering shows something, but we know the rendering is just the rendering, and it's likely that we need to see that articulation in a plan. And I could go on for days on this, but I think that we're missing some huge opportunities here.
Stephen Lee, I know what you mean by BMPs. For our audience, could you describe an example of what you would be looking for regarding BMPs on the Hilliard streetscape and some of the hardscape things?
Sure.
Give a concrete example. Thank you.
So BMP stands for Best Management Practice, and it primarily relates to stormwater. So for example, when you have stormwater that flows off of the asphalt and hits a concrete curb and gutter, it then flows along that concrete curb and gutter, and then typically goes straight into a drain in a pipe and then outfalls somewhere in a stream. BMPs take that stormwater and they, in this case on Hilliard, there might be an opening in the curb where that water is allowed to escape from the street. It goes into a linear planting that is designed to retain that water, filter, cleanse, and allow it to permeate naturally. A good example is what the city did with some of the public improvements at New Belgium on that street. There's some simpler things that could be done. Walk the streets of Nashville and look and see what's being done along curbs there, and they're beautiful. There's $50,000 worth of tree grates on this project. And why can't that money go into something that's a little bit more creative? And why can't we ask developers to do that? Seeing these plans that meet absolute bare minimum compliance, provide no sense of place, I'm just tired of it. And the city of Asheville can now expect and request more. And I'd like to see that the tide change with that.
Just to remind the commission that this is a conditional zoning. So the project does have to demonstrate that it is in alignment with the city's comprehensive plan. And we do have goals for innovative stormwater and designs that create sense of place. So your comments will definitely be shared with the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council as this moves through the process.
Thank you. Andrea, I'm going to get to you, but I want Stephen Lee to also define sense of place, if that's okay, because I think that's an important piece. So you define the BMP, Stephen Lee. Can you define what you mean by sense of place?
And sense of place, and we're so lucky here at Asheville. It is so easy to create a sense of place here in Asheville because we're a creative community. If we're in Mobile, Alabama, or Montgomery or wherever, it's a little bit more difficult at times, but just showing a level of creativity, a place with public art, a recognition of sustainability. There's the whole face of this building on Clingman Avenue is the hottest southwest side you could ever imagine. Those people can't use those balconies in the summertime. Why not show some green screen along the side of that building, like the previous submittal did? They really tried to address it in the previous one somewhat, but these are simple elements, folks. It just takes one extra layer of thought to pull it through, but demonstrating a sense of sustainability, demonstrating a desire to have a creative, artistic approach, not a mural on the building, but maybe with public art. The rendering there, which looks nice, demonstrates a little bit of like classic, interesting containers that are on the street. Look at the streetscape at the Grove Arcade. Classical, beautiful containers that speak well to the building, the classic design of that. Throw some containers that are the right scale and show it to us at that level when you get those drawings developed, and not the TRC set, because that's what's going to get built. I guarantee it. But creative designs that are well thought out, that show a strong desire to respond to sustainability with stormwater, with sunlight, and also with a defined architectural style. I won't get into that element, but that speaks to Asheville. And it could be modern, and I think they probably could say they've done that in some ways here. But this building's the same exact building is in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Raleigh. But as a landscape architect, I work for clients that, and there's the other designers on this commission that do too. We realize what budgets are, and this building can't be clad in limestone and marble. We realize that it's an apartment building, but it does not cost money to be more creative and address these streetscape issues. It's just, it's the intersection of Clingman Avenue and Hilliard. Come on, folks. It could be an intersection in South Asheville, 2 blocks off of Hendersonville Road. It's the same exact design. I need to be quiet.
I thoroughly enjoyed that rant. Andrew, you've got a high bar. Get after it.
Yeah, Stephen, you said a lot that I would have loved to have said, so I don't need to repeat you, but I'm just gonna be in solidarity with you, Stephen. That was great. I gotta say, so I live on Clingman Avenue, so literally the stormwater is going to come off of this land is going to run behind my house. The traffic that is going to go here these people are going to be my neighbors. These are going to be businesses that I walk to. Assuming I keep my lease anyway. So this is kind of right. This is right at home for me. And I'm excited to see something go in this spot. So that's not. I'm not anti-development on this. I'm excited to see something go on this spot. I've been waiting to see that. But man, talk about missed opportunities. Also, just the first thing I'm going to say is totally 35 miles per hour is too fast for Clingman Avenue. If you drive 35 miles per hour down here, all the NCDOT roads, I think, are sort of set at 35 miles per hour mainly. I know Biltmore Avenue is, Clingman Avenue is. I work on Biltmore Avenue, and I live on Clingman Avenue, and the irresponsibility of the DOT maintaining these roads at 35 miles per hour is just completely wrong. If you 35 is too fast to go on either of those streets. So if this is wrapped up into a bigger look at all of the speed limits that NCDOT manages in downtown and environs, I think that's great. If the net, I think should totally be cast a little wider than just Clingman Avenue, as long as you're having that conversation. Another big concern I have is you're going from 63% impervious to 87% impervious on these 3 acres that are on this lot. That seems like a huge missed opportunity to do something other than just car storage on this piece of property. Car storage isn't going to be that profitable for anyone. It doesn't look like a lot of the parking doesn't look like it's accessible to the building without a really long walk. Anyway, I don't see any access into the building on that ground floor, I think, except on the Hilliard side. And this is prime bikeable area, and the afterthought of other modes of transportation in this, and the primacy of car transportation that is represented in this design, feels like the world we're leaving behind. Does not feel like the world that we are moving to. And those minimum compliance standards, that's how you get Charlotte. That's how you get those other places that we talked about. Decades of minimum compliance standards, and that erased. Those places had senses of place. We still have ours. If we want to erase our sense of place, let's just copy and paste this over and over again. This is. I'm really excited to see something go here, but I couldn't imagine spending 5 years in architecture school to make this. It feels like, as a jazz musician, it feels like taking my years of experience to make elevator music or something. What is compelling about the artistry and beauty of architecture career that would lead you to do this? I know that there's budgets are real, and hey, a gig's a gig, but man. Next.
Gia, you're up.
Thank you, Stephen Lee. I think you put it as well as any of us designers could have done. what's happening on the street is just sort of minimal. And thank you for putting it that way. Andrew, I absolutely agree with you as well. I just wanted to make a comment back when we were talking about how there's sort of the repetition of that long side where it could be broken up into more materials. I've been driving along Broadway down towards the UNC campus a lot lately, and there's an entire row, it looks like several blocks, of what look like townhouses, but there's hardly any change in material along those townhouses. And it's kind of a bit overwhelming as you're driving by there. You see just nothing but these same brownstone houses. And I hate to see that sort of feeling here. They're trying to break it up, but I think a little more attention to change of materials would help to relieve that monotony along that facade.
Wonderful. So we've had folks talk about the parking multimodal aspect. Ruth talked a little bit about the economic development, local business aspect. I think we've hit on livability. We've had some aspects to urban design, sustainability, balance of uses. I think we would need to see some attention to the lighting plan and addressing some public safety issues. We've talked about how I think it does align with the downtown master plan in terms of this is the right kind of use in the right place. And I do appreciate the way they pulled the building off of Hilliard to create, a opportunity at least, even if they're not taking advantage of it for, a really activated pedestrian experience there. I'm going to save my fire for the architecture building design, and I'm going to try to come up with a rant as epic as Stevens on the Charlanta they're trying to shove down our throats for the design review committee. We've talked about stormwater. Are there any other comments that you would like to pass on to staff so that this gets put into the report for council to consider as this moves through? Ruth?
Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to say, and I know how Andrew feels about parking and lots of parking spaces, but I do have to speak up for senior citizens who need to get to the grocery store, who maybe can't ride a bus. They don't want to take Uber because they can't afford Uber or whatever. But I know for me, I unfortunately use a car because I've had some orthopedic issues and I still walk. I still walk downtown, but I need a car to get to the grocery store, or I need a car to get to a doctor's appointment. So I think, getting rid of all of the parking, I would be totally against that.
Go ahead, Megan.
So my comment is really about the intersection here. I'm not sure if this is the appropriate place for it, but that intersection does tend to get pretty backed up already. This project, the one across the street, that looks like it's nearing completion. I believe the Haywood Street Congregation project, that if it goes forward, would impact this intersection. I think Duke is planning to parcel off its properties there. So this just seems like a good time to address traffic flow and pedestrian safety and multimodal of that entire intersection. And then I certainly can't beat what Stephen Lee and Andrew said, but I just want to say that I stand in solidarity with both of you. So thanks for those comments.
Go ahead, Sage.
One last thing, I'm not sure which meetings came up in, but the properties on the other side of Clingman, there used to be a car dealership that now Duke owns. I think that there could be some foresight with that particular parcel. And who knows, these guys did the patent 1, now the patent 2, maybe they'll try and make a move over there when those parcels come up. But that could be our opportunity to widen streets or ensure that street trees are on that side or something like that. So just plugging a seed for when those parcels come online, to think of this as a whole complete corridor.
I saw Shannon and then Andrew and then yay, Franzi.
Thank you. I just realized I neglected to mention that this project is required to do a traffic impact study, and that is in development right now and will be reviewed in more detail before it goes to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So the traffic will be examined with this project, and projects of a similar size and scale would also trigger a traffic impact study. So when the time comes that the Duke property gets developed, it would likely also trigger a traffic impact study. So hopefully this corridor will be examined appropriately for that. Andrew
and then Franzi.
So there was I believe there was a note in the minutes from the We Can neighborhood this week that there's some early discussion about widening Clingman Avenue to include a left-hand turn lane. Shannon's nodding her head. That was included in the Duke property. They provided the easement or the space for it. They're going to widen the right of way in order to be able to accommodate some traffic improvements. I think if I recall, it also included a climbing bike lane. Yeah, that I think those are both really positive and needed, just as somebody who's driving through here all the time, because the road's like almost wide enough to do left turns. So you got people that kind of make it happen and people sneak over on the right, and people are just improvising and it's not super safe. But they're making use of asphalt that's there. But I know in the neighborhood plan, there was a vision for this area that showed a unique roundabout in this location. Which I thought was really neat, and that doesn't seem to have gotten any traction. But if it's gonna that idea will be dead if you develop a third corner of this property. I think that once with two corners developed, I think you can probably still fit a roundabout in. But now with three, I think that you're going to be boxed out of that. So yeah, the infrastructure around this, I would really like to see concerned, and I think that it's part of the CZ process that there is. There probably is more ability to have those conversations about that. So I hope that gets happening before there too much is going forward here. And Ruth, absolutely, people need accessibility no matter what accessibility they need. But so getting rid of all parking for a spot like this is just like that. No, that's not exactly what I'm saying. But where there's 201 parking spots here and 160 units, and that just really seems to be complete overkill for this location. In a prime bikeable, there's buses are driving by here every 15 minutes, I think, at least. I know there's always a handful of folks that need four wheels under them to get around and get to the grocery store, but there's so much potential to do for other modes of transportation in this location. This is not South Asheville.
Franzi.
I agree with so much that has been said, and thank you, Stephen Lee, for all your comments. I also maybe wanted to add a little something to that, is that, we've talked about gateways in Asheville and how important the gateways to different areas of our community are, and to really make those stand out. And I think this is an ideal place for that type of idea. I mean, this is basically the gateway to the River Arts District, and it's also on the other side, a gateway to downtown. So maybe that adds a little fuel to the fire of really thinking intentionally of how we design these places and these intersections, and how important we make these gateways versus just catering to development as usual anywhere USA.
This has been a great discussion. We really need to wrap it up and move on to the next item. I'm going to give you one last chance to give staff some input, and then tune in for the DRC final review.
Maybe just like a thumbs down emoji for the staff input.
There's a lot to like about this project. And I don't want the developers to walk away thinking that we're just, they've done enough right that they need to do the rest of it right. I'll put it that way. Okay, so with that, I will move on to 123 Haywood.
Okay, thank you, Chair Moffitt. I will share my screen. Let's see. So I can't remember if I showed you all pictures last month or not. Weird. Okay. Let's see. So this project is just as a reminder on these two lots just to the east of the 240 ramp at Haywood Street. And so it's a pretty small project area. And so this project was originally developed as a condo building, and they are looking to turn it to a small hotel, which is allowable by our regs, which would be a level 1. And in the last iteration, it did not meet our 2-story minimum. So they have reworked their plans. Excuse me. Wait, zoom in here so you all can see. They have kind of furiously worked as quickly as they could to rework their plans to be back on the agenda this month. And so you can see here at the front, it's the full 4-story building. 50% of the frontage is retail. It doesn't have to be exactly retail, but it has to be like a small business or kind of a separate occupiable space. So part of the idea here is that we are creating space for small business owners, right? That's not just hotel lobbies. And so I think they lost some square footage on the back of the building. It's still a lot of the same materials. I think the same materials, the white corrugated metal, kind of a perforated mesh metal screen. We at the last design review committee meeting, they were originally scheduled for formal, but they weren't meeting requirements, so we took them off, but we did an informal review. There were some comments about the architecture and kind of this space between the levels of windows and how thick or thin that was. And I do have the old drawings or old renderings if you want me to go back to those. This project did receive alternative compliance for street trees along Haywood Street. I think they have got other trees they're planting. I think there's some sort of utility lines here under the sidewalk that are difficult to plant around. And that's pretty much what they submitted. I do also have, let's see, these were the older drawings. Just as a reminder, this is the palette that they're using. And on the staircase on the west side of the building, there is a green screen to help screen that staircase. I believe is where that is. Or maybe it's here on the garage level down here. So I don't have an elaborate presentation for you all. I mean, it's mostly, this review is mostly about the building.
Sasha, I don't remember that little tumor on the roof and that rooftop space.
That's true.
On the previous.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I think that is a new element.
Okay. Stephen Lee, I see. Oh, yeah. Okay. A couple of hands. Go ahead.
Thank you. Is this going to come back before the design review committee?
Yes,
Sasha?
Next week.
Okay. All right. I think I'm going to hold comments actually until then, but yeah, this will give us some time to think about it too. Thank you.
So, Sasha? Is this considered an amended application to their previous application? Is that all they're doing, or is this a brand new application? What is this?
I mean, and Shannon might be able to help me here. I mean, so they had a level 1. They got a zoning permit, I think, for their residential thing. right? They're changing the use. To me, in my mind, it's almost like a brand new application because, I mean, in terms of they have to get a positive, vote from the DRC to get approval for a hotel use. So as far as the DRC is concerned, to me, it's like a new application, if that makes sense.
Okay, it does. It does. Guys, I'm so sorry. I didn't see who put their hand up first. I'm going to go alphabetically. Andrew.
Yeah, so I'm confused. There's like conflicting information that's out there. I mean, the packet says that this is condos. The application is for a hotel. And on the internet, there are condo units for sale. You go to beverly-hanks.com. These units are listed for sale still. Like I feel like, what is this egg gonna hatch? It's kind of hard to review this if with all that conflicting information out there. I mean, within the packet on the internet from the applicant, like what's the deal here?
Well, I don't think, ownership is not something we really consider in reviews. It's not, we legally can't consider that. And I think this would be a small extended stay hotel. So they are kind of getting under the wire here. Next week, I think council will be considering the amendment, the ordinance change, right? So I don't think it's dissimilar to some of the other projects you've reviewed.
Yeah, but the pace of people coming and going is related to what's going on inside the building. And if we don't know what that is, like, how can we talk about street trees and frontage and like the other components of review that we have to do that are in the public realm? Like what goes on inside a building affects what goes on in front of that building. As far as like when the traffic is, residents are going to be, resident traffic is going to be spread throughout the week probably. Hotel traffic is going to be concentrated on weekends. They need different types of infrastructure for different types of uses. So there's just a reality to it that I think you have to acknowledge. If I understand the limitations of comments on use and things like of inside the building, but absolutely affects the use outside the building.
I guess the only thing I would say is just consider it to be a small hotel. It may have multiple owners and there will be people coming and going. And we don't really know if they'll stay 2 days or 10 days or 2 weeks or,
Gio, I think I saw your hand up at one point, didn't I?
Yes, really quickly. Andrew, you said egg. As soon as this picture popped up, I thought, can it be toned down? It's really bright and it's just kind of glaring. And if I would request that the design review committee talk about maybe muting that pure white facade a little bit to make it less egg. I think you understand what I'm saying. So thank you.
I do, Gio, and we can talk about that then. I have if it's going to be Richard Meyer, it needs to be all the way Richard Meyer without the little blue accents. It's just like if you're going to, I don't know, there's something weird going on, but I'll try to save that for design review. Any other comments on this revised proposal? So again, think about what you want us on the design review to really cover. So I've heard some items regarding street trees, regarding how the projected use of the building will impact traffic and the multimodal aspects, as well as public safety. Oh, I'm sorry, Dane, I didn't see your hand. And then Stephen Lee again.
Yeah, just a question. How many units are there in this building?
I'm counting 15.
Sasha, you're muted.
It was 38 or something when it was the first rendition.
It seems like, we're seeing developers are trying to push the limits of the small hotel overlay. We've got one right across the street from us, that's, in the works. And I guess that's just something we have to be aware of. I mean, I like the small hotel concept, and they just are trying to push the limit, as far as they can go. And that's something I think we need to push back on.
It looks like 15 in our packet, but as Andrew pointed out, there's conflicting information out there.
Yeah.
We'll try to nail that down. Thank you.
It's got to be more than 15 just looking at the building. I mean, anyway, that's just my opinion. We need to keep the small hotels as small hotels and not allow them to turn into condo-tels, I guess is what we're calling them now.
Yeah. Stephen Lee, go ahead.
Thanks. It's my understanding, the Design Review Committee reviewed the first generation of this well over a year ago when it was condominium. And our most recent review, it was very clear to us that we were reviewing this as a hotel, as a small hotel. I remember the first rendition that came out when it was a condo, the view that we see on the screen there right now. There was a really nice pedestrian courtyard space. There was a chunk cut out of the building. And since I saw this last couple of weeks ago, there's an infill that's occurred, whether it's good or bad, whatever, but we're losing that articulation in the building that I thought really made it interesting and a bit unique. When Design Review saw it a couple of weeks ago, they were showing the removal of that courtyard, but it was just to put in a one-level retail space to meet the code requirements for a hotel. But that design had a really interesting green roof on it, and it still had very interesting rhythm that drew you into the front door, and I thought it was really interesting. So if the developer and or the design team are listening on it right now, I think that they need to be prepared, I guess, for a couple things. One is that we're going to have some very distinctive comments to share, but at the Design Review Committee upcoming. But we really do need for you to share with us what you're doing to maintain that same level that we saw earlier. And then also, as a hotel, we do have the ability now on this specific project to make some very specific requests that I think would be very fair. Like, what are you doing to make this building sustainable? Are you helping to try to address climate change? I think the roof terrace is actually really interesting, but why not throw some green up there? Get some green roof going up there. We need to see the next level that goes into making this a special space. And I'll reserve the remainder of my comments for the Design Review Committee. Thanks.
And I'll just, if I could, just really quickly address, maybe this is obvious to everybody, but address what Stephen Lee is talking about here. The building did have a courtyard here on the right side. It was a shorter building. It had a courtyard, and because the 50% requirement of activating a frontage, it basically was such a short frontage in a small site. Once you use up the space to create a driveway into your parking deck, and you need an entrance and an elevator, and you've got backflow prevention, all the things that have to be near the front of the building. And then we added on the 50% activation. We basically forced them out of that courtyard. Now, that's not to say you couldn't have a courtyard in the back, but then you've got the parking needs. So it's like all those, it's partly really site driven, right? Because it's such a small site, just so that everybody understands that. If you were on a bigger site, you would have more options.
But we didn't force them out of that, them choosing to be a hotel.
You're correct.
They forced themselves. Okay.
Yes, absolutely
Yes.
correct. Yes.
All right. Robin, you don't need any, okay. Any other comments to pass along to staff and also Design Review? Make sure we catch everything you guys want us to look at.
I do think it looked better before. That's all I was going to say. And I think with every change, it's gotten a little bit worse. So
are you just saying, also, I just want to make sure I know as staff, so are you all saying that you preferred this like one story with a green roof?
Yes, 100%. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that would require a variance. And that's why that went away.
It would,
yes.
But it was a better solution.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sometimes I think our ordinances don't necessarily make better buildings.
That's a whole nother topic. Okay. Stephen Lee, go ahead.
I'd just like to add, Robin, to your comment there. As you know, fortunately, there are good architects at the table. This is a really good firm that's doing this project. So I'd just like to add that. Thanks.
Yeah. And Shannon threw a comment in that they could do just a CZ for this project, which might be a good way to do it, especially with the street tree and some of that other stuff. And it was a shame to lose the little courtyard. And yeah. Anyway, we'll keep moving. Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to note that we're going from luxury condos to hotel usage. And this is an example of something that's happening economically in this town, which is that when even luxury condos are getting replaced by hotel usage, man, we're sunk as far as like the dream of like affordable housing arising on its own, or like the private market, making housing that's going to fill gaps when even luxury housing is going to fold in the face of an opportunity to become hotels. I mean, this is a 20,000 square foot hole in our hotel policy in downtown and in the city is what this represents. In that it is taking it is I know that we have a housing crunch at like every level, and I'm used to the idea that like affordable housing is going to get supplanted by hotel uses. But boy, oh boy, are we in trouble if even luxury housing is going to get replaced by hotel usage. I mean, that should scare people of a lot more income brackets than just mine. So that's a big note about, I think, the wrong direction that we're going in with our approach to hotel regulations. And I think this is a 20,000 square foot hole as an example of how we have not gotten it right.
Very good. Thank you, everyone, for your input. I think we've given the staff and the members of DRC that are here plenty of stuff to take a look at, and we'll communicate these items back to the applicants, and then we'll communicate again with them when they go through design review committee. And with that, we'll move on to our next item of business. Dana has been working pretty hard putting together a survey that I know a good number of you have already completed regarding the skills and recommendations of our current group and what we see as gaps and how we can best serve our community and our city and fulfill our charter by moving forward. And so I appreciate that. And so far, it looks like the top needs would be the top two needs currently are representation of otherwise underrepresented perspective that should have a greater voice in downtown policy and planning. And then the next item would be cross-sector coordination and leadership, basically representing other sectors downtown, coordinating on problem solving, sharing information, etc. And then three folks so far have communicated economic development, downtown business knowledge, and/or perspective. So as we take time this morning to thank what Franzi and Dane have brought to the table, and we can't really replace them, but we need voices like theirs on this commission. People who actually live downtown, who've started multiple businesses and continue to work to speak to different population groups and talk about coordination among those population groups. So any other comments or what am I missing, Dana, on speaking to this so far?
Just that the deadline for new applications is December 20th, and council appointments will be made January 11th. So, and Brian as chair will have the opportunity to weigh in on, to make recommendations on that decision. So if there's any other qualities, appreciate all the feedback through the survey, but anything else you all want to discuss today that that should be represented and passed along.
But basically, to make sure that when we're reviewing those applications, when I'm reviewing those applications, especially, that I know what you guys are looking for, and I am accurately reviewing those to weigh those applications so that we get the representation that is best for the city. So that's what we're doing and why. No further thoughts on that. Good. So if you haven't done that survey, please do. And with that, we'll move into updates and reports. Whoa, we're on time. That's amazing. Design Review Committee, Stephen Lee.
So our meeting in November simply did the preliminary review for 123 Haywood Street, which we just discussed and we're seeing again. And that was it.
And it's completely different. So none of that mattered. But I'm not bitter. Asheville Downtown Association.
So events-wise, we were able to pull off a successful parade last month. It was really nice to be able to, bring that back to our community. So thanks to all the sponsors and folks in the parade, including Andrew and Dane, for helping us bring that back to our community. We judged our holiday windows and announced those winners earlier this week, and we've created a custom Google map of downtown businesses that have holiday displays so that people can enjoy those throughout the holiday season, and in planning for what I hope will be a full series of events for 2022. And just a little teaser of something that we're working on. We feel the need to show to the community and to our leadership what the value of downtown is and the importance of a successful, vibrant, healthy downtown is to our entire region. So we're working on a project that will be really two pieces. The first is a really data-driven piece. So looking at what is the value of downtown, how does that impact the rest of the community? How many jobs are supported by downtown businesses? How much investment has the city or county made into downtown? And then the second piece of that is kind of the more emotional piece, right? Trying to reconnect our citizens to their downtown and show them how important it is. And that would be done through a series of short videos. It's our intention to launch this project at our State of Downtown Luncheon, which is typically the end of February, possibly early March, and then work on the project throughout the year with the culmination at the 2023 State of Downtown. So I will be bringing that to you guys more. I think it's important that you have an opportunity to weigh in on that if you're interested. But that is our plan moving forward. And that's all.
That's a lot. Thank you.
It's ambitious for sure.
Sounds exciting, Megan. Thank you.
Dane, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that we are planning on bringing the Asheville Mardi Gras Parade back this year at the end of February. And thank you, ADA, for helping us do that. And so that's our plan anyway.
That's great. Downtown update report.
All right, since we are on schedule, I think I'll pull this up. All right. Still coming up. So want to make sure if you all can help get the word out. I know the city's been doing a good amount of promotion, but applications are open for the Community Reparations Commission. The deadline to apply is December 22nd, and I've provided a couple of links with more information. We've been talking about the parking garages and upgrading the equipment for the past several months, and I'm happy to report that that equipment has been upgraded and it works great. I've tried it. It's it's working great. And the fees, the parking rates have changed slightly. The first hour is free and always free now, but each hour after that is $2 an hour. Ramada Inn, permanent supportive housing. So this is not downtown, but I think it's relevant information to share. The city had planned for an emergency low barrier shelter, and those plans changed and is pursuing at this point the possibility of permanent supportive housing. There was a meeting held earlier this week, and I would just encourage you all to check out the video if you can. There's a lot of great information about what's being planned there and the city's approach to addressing homelessness generally. So I just encourage you all to take a look, and that's going to council, I believe, this upcoming Tuesday. American Rescue Plan Act, staff is still reviewing applications that were submitted, and recommendations for funding will be going to council in January at their January 11th meeting. Let's see, development project updates we discussed. The next design review committee meets next week on December 16th. I know that's all going to be a big meeting day for several of you. I shared this previously, but just want you all also to be aware of a page we have available on the city's website with homeless resources and guidance. There's a guide for businesses who would like to know what resources are available and where they could direct questions or concerns. So just highlighting that. A few items on the upcoming council agenda on Tuesday. And Buncombe County recently, a couple weeks ago, extended the indoor face covering requirements for indoor public spaces, including commercial spaces. So that's in effect until January 5th. And that's what I've got. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dana.
I have a quick question. Are our meeting policies, as far as remote versus not remote, is it linked to the mask mandate directly, or is it after the mask mandate, then we ask some other questions before we decide to go in person again?
I don't think it's linked directly. And I don't have any, I had previously heard that council was going to begin meeting in person again. I think it's a city decision that's made, and I don't have any updates. I'm not aware of things changing anytime soon.
Dane, go ahead, and then Sage.
Yeah, I just want to say I wanted to mention that Langren Alley just recently got repaved and it's looking great. So thank you, Dana.
Now you got to help us keep it clean, Dane.
Did you go out there and pave it yourself, Dana? Hey, so Andrew, I'm happy to try and answer your question the best I can. So my understanding is when there was a state of emergency statewide, that was the first box that allowed the virtual meetings and had all those statutes about how they were carried out. And then as the state of emergency continued, we followed it. Then when it stopped, the governor made a special provision to allow municipalities or local governments to choose virtual or not, allowing them to choose a path so long as it stayed in the guidelines for either. On council, I know I have been asked several times my comfort level and if I've been hearing from my constituents about their support level. So my understanding is that we don't have a collective support of being ready to entirely go back. But I also think we're looking at it for January. That's what I know.
Thank you. Thank you. That's really good information to have. Okay. Any other kind of general comments? At this time, I'd like to just make some comments. Dana was kind enough to collect some comments regarding our outgoing members who've served us ably and well for a while. So Franzi was appointed to the Downtown Commission in January of 2016. She formed and chaired the Local Living Economy Working Group, bringing together community partners with a spirit of collaboration for the benefit of our downtown and local independent businesses across the city. She led the launch of Love Asheville Go Local Week and the Love Asheville Go Local Month, and she facilitated city proclamations in recognition of those initiatives. She brought art, celebration, and entrepreneurial opportunities to the Pit of Love, formerly called something else. Served as an effective voice and advocate for our local business community and our local economy. She has ensured that locally owned independent businesses are centered in economic development and land use discussions. She's represented in many plans and policies, including the comprehensive plan, South Slope Vision Plan, the Haywood Page Master Plan, and the Public Space Management Guidelines. She has continued to educate commissioners and the public about opportunities that support local and employee ownership, the importance of circulating dollars locally, and the tools and examples of how cities can limit chains. She has engaged consistently with intentionality and positivity. She has also founded the Asheville Grown Business Alliance and served as that director for 12 years, stepping down just this past June. She grew the alliance from 12 independent businesses at its inception to over 550, and she's raised $175,000 or been part of raising $175,000 for the Asheville City Schools Foundation since 2015 through the Go Local card program. And she is going to continue as the owner of Hip Replacements Boutique downtown in her work with Project Equity, which is a nonprofit that promotes employee ownership. And so we really appreciate her continued involvement with our community and for her effective service through the Downtown Commission. So yay, Franzi. Yay, Franzi. And Dane was appointed to the Downtown Commission in January of 2013. That's either impressive or condolences, I guess. Proud downtown resident, often seen walking around downtown in a tie-dye t-shirt, holding hands with his wife. Dane has brought a consistent, thoughtful, and caring perspective to discussions and design review, reminding commissioners and the public of the importance of having a livable downtown neighborhood. He does this as both a resident and a business owner. He has contributed to downtown through Mountain BizWorks coaching, property management, and project management, always striving to be a supportive force in the city's built environment, the economy, and the arts. He has encouraged staff to initiate meetings with businesses on the block, now called the Block Community Collaborative, when multiple construction projects were taking place in order to help support those businesses to continue operating successfully during this disruption. He has hosted Downtown Commission gatherings in his home with excellent snacks. I missed that. He participated on the Broadway Cultural Gateway Project advisory team. He advocated for a pedestrian and arts-oriented approach. He has organized cleanups of Langren Alley and pushed for the paving. He has assisted with outreach for city paving projects, consistently goes above and beyond in ways that are sometimes under the radar. We are very grateful for Dane's involvement with the Downtown Commission, his consistent voice speaking for our community at large. So very, very thankful for your service. Very thankful for basically just your collaboration, and I've enjoyed serving with you virtually, even though, yeah, this is weird. So hopefully this is not the end, but that you are going to continue to serve our community in many other ways, probably frees you up to be even of more service. So thank you very much. And I wish we were able to do this in person. And maybe we can, when we can all feel comfortable getting together again, can do that as well. I think I covered everything. I was, thank you for putting that together. And with that, I'll open the floor for any closing comments or thoughts, informal discussion, future agenda items.
I just wanted to share that, Dane, I think it's exciting that as you leave the Downtown Commission, you're also taking on a downtown project, one that had made it through design review and did a great job and looks spectacular. So I know you're still going to be around. And hey, if you're interested in any other boards, let me know.
Well, I'm not going away.
I just wanted to thank both Franzi and Dane for all of your caring thoughts and the representation you've given us of downtown and small businesses. So we'll miss your perspectives on the commission and hope you'll come and make comments in the future. I hate to bring this up right now after we've had such a great talking about Franzi and Dane, but I guess and I know it had to be done. I know that it was an eyesore. It was also dangerous, but I'm just wondering if when a homeless camp goes up, if we can't give those residents a little more notice of things when we're going to come in with a bulldozer. I know a lot of people lost personal property. And I'm just wondering if the city has ever looked at renting one of the mobile. I've seen them at art shows and I've seen them in other places. And I know they bring them in to areas that have had hurricanes or forest fires or whatever. But I'm just wondering if we've ever looked at one of those mobile bathroom units that we could bring into a place for the use of homeless. They have showers in them, they have washers and dryers, they have bathroom facilities, and I'm wondering if we've ever looked at bringing one into the city. Thanks.
Thank you, Ruth. So, real quickly, it was not the city of Asheville that performed that move, but NCDOT. And I'll point that out first of all. But we do need to figure out how to get better communication coordination between agencies that are going to take these actions, because we're involved with it, even if we didn't do it. Sage, I saw your hand.
I was just going to offer some information. And Hayward Street congregation shared a letter to this effect. There's been it's a very upsetting situation. So there's been some conflation of mixed information out there. But Haywood Street and Beloved, and even some members of the Asheville Police Department were willingly packing up to prepare for the removal. So people were able to take their belongings, and it was a code purple night, so they were able to access shelter if needed. I'm in no way saying that is a solution, but I don't want folks to feel like people lost everything they had. Homeward Bound was there, wraparound services were there. They were able to place several people, and it was actually much more organized than what is somewhat being portrayed. We do need a high access shelter, y'all. I will say it over and over again. It's a crucial missing link in our housing systems, and we will continue to work on one. It is very unfortunate that the Ramada could not come together in time. It's a funding, a partnership, and really a consensus issue. We ran out of time and couldn't agree on it, and I hold myself accountable for that. It's a really horrible feeling, but we will continue to work on it. We will have a high access shelter. We do need it. And what's happening right now is not fair to folks. I did post a little letter just of information, sharing some ideas about possibly looking at ways to reduce the code purple criteria so we could get folks into the available shelters that are open. Like last night was not code purple, tomorrow is, Sunday is, but Monday's not. So there's a flux of people constantly having to move. Code purple is not run by the city of Asheville, it's run by a coalition of nonprofits, and they make criteria, and it's freezing and wind chill factors, but I think some of that might be able to be more creative. And I'm putting out that idea, and folks are interested in talking about it. Let's talk about it. And if you have any other ideas, please reach out.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Thank you. I'd like to request as a future agenda item, we have someone from staff come and talk to the Downtown Commission about short-term and long-term goals for Pack Square, Pritchard Park, and McGuire Green, our most important downtown open spaces. I know that there's been a lot of work done by staff recently to try and manage some of the challenges, but I know that there are some ongoing efforts in terms of getting things back online at Pack Square and McGuire Green, but I think some of our concerns need to be heard, and I'm not sure if it's bringing a staff person to a meeting and just hearing about future work that's taking place or what, but I think we need to get in on the discussion of this and try to help brainstorm about ways that we can help. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to add the Haywood Page spot to that list, Stephen Lee, as a aspirational inclusion. But I as far as the crown jewels of our open spaces go, that's hopefully a future one. And so I'd love it to be considered in that group now.
Very good. This has been a good meeting with some good input for a variety of things. I very much appreciate it. Dana?
Before we break, want to make sure everyone got the agenda and has the calendar invite for next week. The multimodal joint meeting. We're going to focus on public space, and wanted to just check in on January. So we will be completing the annual report, and also we'll be looking at the survey results we received from you all. We'll be welcoming new commissioners and hopefully setting some goals for 2022 and some focus areas. And so I think it's probably fine if we want to stick with the regular meeting time. I think there's probably a little bit more to do than a typical meeting. So just wanted to put it out there to see if you guys would prefer setting up a special meeting. I'd hate to make you meet twice since you're meeting twice this month, but just wanted to open it up for whatever you all prefer schedule-wise. Any strong, if, we can.
I'm here to do the work.
Okay.
So if I got to do the work twice in a month, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll work with Brian and Ruth and we'll make a plan. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Dana. I had completely forgotten the multimodal thing. So that is the 16th next week. And you should have all gotten the invite and the agenda. And if there are no further items for business, I think we can adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
All right. Is there a second? Come on.
I'll second.
Very good. All in favor, you may log off. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon.